morning, everyone. So nice to have everyone together for Yin class today. And my name is Dreena, for those new to the class. In my class, I do something a little bit different than a standard Yin class. At the beginning of class, we do something called fascial stretching. So our fascia is connective tissue that not just goes through our entire bodies. It's not just a layer underneath our skin. It actually moves into the muscles, into the nervous system, the joint capsules. So the movements that we do in the beginning help to release the fascia. It helps to brush up any old, unhydrated fascia, giving us more access to the muscles, better energy flow through the body as well. And I could do a whole class on that, which I might, but we focus on, in today's class, two muscle groups in particular for the liver and gallbladder. It's the outside of the legs and the inside of the legs. It's connected to spring in Chinese medicine, so we'll be doing that. And we're also going to work the hamstrings today because we all need some hamstring fascia stretching, which I'll talk about when we get there. Okay, so just to kind of prep you, the first 10 minutes or so of class will be more active, and then we'll move into Yin, okay? So before we begin, let's just take a couple of minutes to connect with our bodies, close down the eyes, and if you're not on a prop, perhaps just sliding a soft cushion or blanket under your seat so that your pelvis can tilt forward slightly and we have a nice long spine and can feel nice and rooted into the earth here. So with your eyes closed now, noticing those sits bones on your prop or on your mat. Noticing the whole lower body. Noticing the quality of the tissues in your lower body, what it feels like to you today. Do they feel a little stiff? Do they feel heavy? Do they feel tight? Do they feel sore? Do they feel open, spacious? So just kind of noticing what you're feeling from an energetic kind of standpoint in the lower limbs. And then a little scan through the torso and upper body, and asking yourself that same question, how it feels, say, in the waist, the rib cage, the heart space, the back line of the body, between the shoulder blades, the front of the shoulders, down the arms. Is there a feeling of spaciousness, lightness, or more of a heavy feeling? And while continuing to feel this rootedness through the sits bones, now kind of work your way up your spine. Imagine that spine lifting vertebrae by vertebrae up towards the sky through your crown. And notice how it feels in your neck and into the skull. It's very subtle, I know, so you may not really connect with anything specific, but just any general sense through that part of your body. And then acknowledging whatever's happened today and what's coming ahead after class, and just sort of pushing that outside the room for now, and really giving yourself permission to fully be here in this hour. And if there's an intention you'd like to set for class, just bring that into your heart space today. And I will offer the intention of just noticing the breath for a few moments, noticing where it's lifting in the body. And let's do a short round of intentional breath work to expand that breath. So let's take a cleansing inhale through the nose and out through the mouth. Inhaling now, letting it go through the mouth. And now just take a nice deep inhale for a count of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and letting that go. Noticing your natural rhythm, come back. And also appreciating that at the beginning of that short round of breath work, you perhaps didn't have as much capacity with the inhale and exhale, and then it really began to round out, fill out. Such a short amount of time. Okay, blinking eyes open, and we begin the very fun stuff. So first I want to check in with you guys. So come to a kneeling position, and if it's normally a little uncomfortable to sit on your heels, that's okay. We're just going to check in very briefly. So come back to your heels and notice the compression in your knees. Notice how the hamstrings feel, and especially really the space around the knees. Take a little snapshot of that. Good, and now lift off the heels. Bring your blocks in front of you. I'm going to demonstrate this from the side, and then I'll come to mirror you. So bringing the blocks in front of you, stepping your right knee forward between the blocks as if you're going to come into pigeon. The right heel is in front of the left hip, and make sure that you're not trying to bring it out to a 90-degree angle. We're really allowing that heel to sink down in front of the leg. Now push down into that right leg, so much so that you can hold your body up, okay? We're not trying to sink into the body here. We're pushing this right leg down. This is the beginning of our fascial work. It involves contracting the muscle in a shortened state, and then we begin to lengthen that muscle. So you can use your blocks for support. Just begin to take little dips, but keep pushing that right leg down. So begin to dip down towards your blocks. Release it, come back up. Push that leg down, begin to dip down towards the mat. When you feel the resistance start to fade, release the tension, come back up. I'll show you from the front. I'm changing my leg just to mirror you. Pushing down, taking little dips, coming back up. See if you can start a little higher this time. Lift up a little bit more, continue to press down, and then we dip. So this work, it's like exfoliating the fascia from the inside out. So some of us know about myofascial release, rolling to release the fascia. That gets the superficial layers of fascia. This work does the inner, very deep layers of fascia. And it also isn't painful, right? It's work, but it's not painful. But what it does is it helps remove pain from the joints. Because when the muscles aren't working well, in the sense that the fascia is restricting them, we take the work in our joints. Continue, another few rounds on this leg. We're also strength training and getting a cardio response. It's very normal to feel the heart rate pick up here. Let's do 3. Let the breath move as it needs to. You don't have to control it or alter it, just let it move as it needs to. Last 1, good. Now swing that leg out to the side. And, yeah. And the energy here, the activation of the muscles, we're trying to bring them, the right leg in towards the left. So as if we could do this, right? As if we could slide it in. You're pressing the foot into the floor, keeping that engagement of pressing the foot into the floor. And with that engagement then, you send the hips back. But keep the resistance of the foot pushing into the floor. And it's okay if the right side, far right side of your foot is coming up. Press down through the left side of your foot. If you can kind of naturally place the whole foot on the floor, that's okay, that's good. But whatever is happening with your foot, as long as you're pushing down and trying to squeeze that leg in. Okay, so this is our liver meridian. And it's the adductor muscles. And the 2 exercises that we're doing here on the outside of the leg and the inside of the leg really help with sacrum issues. SI joint, compression of the sacrum. Yeah. Good, so at the top here, find the resistance and pause for a minute. Really feel it in your body, trying to squeeze that leg in, and then move with it. And there's gonna be a point where you feel you lose that resistive force, so that's when you stop and reset. It's kind of foreign, right? It's different movement. It's the opposite of what we have been doing. So we've sort of learned to stretch in an end range, and what happens when we do that is it creates little micro tears. And then the body goes in to repair those micro tears and lays down more fascia. And that becomes problematic over time. Our fascia is very helpful, holds our body together. Our whole system communicates through the fascia, but when it's dense and dry, it becomes dysfunctional. Last 2. Last 1. I know we're getting warm, right? Bring that knee back to tabletop. Now send that right foot forward in a low lunge. I'm going to show you this from the front as well. So from our low lunge, foot is pointing forward. Make sure you're not on a tightrope here, that you have some space between the 2 legs, like they're on train tracks. The contraction here is as if we're trying to kick the foot back to our bum. So you press that foot into the floor and try to sweep it back to kick your bum. That's the action. So find that at the beginning here. Feel that resistance of kicking back. Now begin to shift your hips back. Release, come back forward. Kick heel back, send hips back. Most of us have a ton of accumulated fascia in the hamstrings. And when we have a lot of dense fascia here, it causes low back pain because it pulls on the pelvis. And the pelvis sets up our spine. Okay? Continue to push that foot down. You can also play with lifting the toes. See how that feels in your body. Lift the toes, send the hips back. So continue to resist though. The key is the resistance. And then we elongate through that resistance. We contract at the beginning, and now we're elongating through the resistance. From here, just turn your foot out to the right slightly. I'll show you, I'll mirror you guys. So we were like this, straightforward. Just turn your foot out slightly. Yeah, externally rotate. And then continue to come back. So now you're going to begin to feel that resistance coming up slightly on the outside of the leg. Everyone connected that a little bit different? Yeah. So kicking back and really energizing down through that edge of the foot, the right edge of the foot. And you do not need to resist fully. Okay, the fascia is stronger than your muscle tissue. And when we have a lot of dense fascia, it has a lot of resistance. So maybe go like 50%, feel the resistance, and then just begin to slide back. Let's do another 6, 5, 4. If it helps, you can place your hand on the working leg, on the back of the leg, and feel that contraction in the hamstring. 3, 2, good, and 1, good. Bring the knee back, come back to sit on your heels now. Notice the difference. Do you feel any difference left and right? Yeah? It's okay if you don't, right? It's okay, yeah. So let's work on the other side now. Well, actually, first let's just come up to a forward fold as well. Tuck your toes, step your feet together, just take a little dangle. Notice the difference. Good. And now we begin on the left leg. So step the right leg back, come into pigeon up with the left side. So left knee comes forward. That left heel sinks back towards the left hip. Again, remember starting with resistance so that you can hold your body up here. Continue to push that left leg down into the floor, and then little dips. Release, come up. So this is our abductors, the IT band. Many of us get quite sticky in here, right? And it begins to pull on the hip girdle. Breath, just let it do what it needs to, pushing down, taking a dip. When the resistance starts to fade or change, release it and come back up. We let go of that resistance on the way up. Dipping down, pushing up. The last 2. Last 1. Good. Push into the block, send that left knee back to meet the right. Step the left foot out to the side now. So again, you're trying to squeeze the left leg in towards the right. So you should feel that resistance right here before we move. Squeezing in, and then sinking the hips back towards the heel. Release the resistance to come back up. Squeeze foot in towards the midline, send hips back. Some of us have a natural capacity to resist a lot. It's just in our nature. Others, we have a bit of a hard time finding the resistance. So just kind of notice where you are. And if you have a hard time finding the resistance, pause at the top and connect with that muscle firing. And then send the hips back. And it's really easy for you to resist. I'm one of those people. Sometimes we can do too much. So just notice if you're really, really forcing a lot of resistance, it makes it difficult to move. Again, the fascia is stronger than muscle fiber. So if we resist as much as we can, we will not move through it. Good, last 2. And last 1. Good. Bring that left knee back to meet the right. Pause for a moment. And then we send that left foot forward. Again, using the blocks for support. This time we're trying to kick the heel back to the bum, right? You can also think of pushing the foot into the floor, but the action of the hamstring is to do this. So that's what we're trying to do in the hamstring. We find that contraction, and then we send our hips back. Release, come back up, kick the heel back. Find that resistance and stay with it. And before you get to that spot in that end range where you go, oh, I feel it there, I feel the stretch there. We kind of want to get away from that. So don't go to that place where you go, oh, I feel that stretch close to my bum, right? The bottom of the pelvis. Rather, it may feel like you're not feeling much at all because the fascia, it feels different than the muscle. And when there's a lot of accumulated tissue there, it's very resistive, and we also do not feel as much. So it's okay. You're doing work. Good. And now begin to turn that left foot out to the left. Push down through the outer edge of the foot a little bit. Continue to sink back. So now we're coming up the lateral hamstring here. You kind of feel it's shifted where it is in the leg, right? So helpful for the low back. And because this chain of tissue runs all the way up the back and into the neck, these movements can help relieve neck stiffness too. Good. Let's do 3. And then we sink into yin. 2. And 1. Good. Left foot plant, step the right foot up to meet your left. Little forward fold. Let it go. Take an inhale. Let it go through the mouth. Come back to the knees. Sit back on the heels one more time. Close eyes, just a little check-in. You may notice you can sit back on your heels, whatever you just kind of sense into here. The back of the knees, the legs, maybe in the upper neck. Good. Really good job, guys. That was the first time for many of you, so really, really good. I'm very impressed. We're gonna sit on our block or blanket, just again to prop up the hips. Because it's very unusual work. It's hard to connect with at first, and you guys did like a really good job. Linda's been doing it with me for a while, so she knows what we're into here. And we're going to take butterfly. For sure, please prop yourself so that you're not in an end range with the legs, okay? In my class, I'm very, very particular about not going to an end range, because when we do that, it goes into the joints, all right? And from here, you can allow the body to drape forward slightly. Just allow the chin to dip towards the head, towards the chest, head to the floor. If that's a lot for the spine, then you can use your bolster, or I can get more blocks. You can just raise a finger and I can get more blocks. We're just gonna hold here for a couple of minutes, and then we're gonna just change the positioning of the legs. So once again, we're into the outer line of the legs here, which is, and the inner line of the legs, more so inner in this particular pose. And that's where our liver meridian runs. So in Chinese medicine, we have these energetic meridians that run through the body. And if you're okay with touching your feet, slide your fingers down towards your 4th and 5th toe, and just begin to slide back and forth. Find that little groove between the 4th and 5th toe, and see if you can find a spot that's
slightly tender. And just place both fingers there on left and right and hold. And then you can slide your thumbs down underneath the foot and kind of catch that spot from the underside as well. Just a little acupressure point here for the gallbladder. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Just connect with the breath. Stay in the sensations of the pose. You can release that spot and just kind of stroke that area with your fingers. Let the energy move through. Good. And then begin to lift the head. We're just going to slide our legs a few inches further, so slightly away from the body. Reposition your blocks. Sink down again towards the feet, but mind that first edge. So if you're really in a deep edge with the spine here, come back out of it slightly. And if everyone can reach between their big toe now, if you're able to reach, and if not, no worries, big toe and second toe, just sliding up again in that little groove between the two. Notice if you feel a spot that just kind of speaks to you as you're moving. And it may be a little lower or a little higher than you think. And again, bring the thumb to the underside and hold. And this is our liver point here. Cue the jaw to release, softening through the face. Nice, last breath here. Release that point, just stroke your fingers back and forth on the top side of your foot. Slowly unwind, so slowly bring your head back up over your pelvis, really nice and slow. Good. Close eyes for a moment. Good. Release the blocks. We're now going to take fire log or square pose. So this looks like so roughly, but you can see that in order for me to get my knee down here, I'm straining. So unless you naturally take fire log without any strain, overstrain, then adapt by bringing a block in front. So we'll begin with the left knee on top, and you can bring the block in front to support the left knee. And then we're just taking fire log this way. You can also prop underneath the knee between the foot if you want to place it on top, right? For me, I like to slide that block just in front, and it's kind of like a Sukhasana. And you can also prop under the other knee with a blanket or block. Good. So this is going to be our pose, finding that sort of first edge where you feel some tension, some compression, just a little tug without overdoing it. And let's walk our fingertips behind us. Find a little lift with the chest. So fingertips are pointing behind us, thumbs towards the front. Just a little opening through the inner side of the arms and the chest. And inviting the breath to move into the rib cage, into the heart space. The last few cycles of breath here, let's just move the eyes around in our sockets with the eyes closed. So looking all the way to the right with the eyeballs, all the way to the left, all the way to the right, and back to the left. And now looking up in your skull. May feel a little sore there, right? Looking up and then down, and back up, and down, and releasing that. Those eye muscles get strained, especially how we live now. And last breath here. It into the low belly and exhale. First lift off those fingers, release the arms, maybe just move around the wrists a little bit. And we change the cross of the legs, so now the left leg comes underneath and the right on top. And again, positioning your block to prop under your knee, between your foot and your knee, or you can slide that front leg off. So the left leg, right leg is off the left and on a block here. So take a first few 10 to 15 seconds to kind of fidget around, find your positioning. Good. And this time we're going to take our hands and just tuck them under our seat. Just bring your hands and tuck them under your seat. A little compression into the hands. And then sliding those shoulder blades down the back. So we're not trying to really push the shoulders open, rather just sliding those shoulder blades down and feeling the spaciousness that naturally happens when we bring those shoulder blades down the back. Soften the corners of the eyes and the jaw. Coming back to respecting that boundary in the pose. So if the hips and the knees are really speaking to you and telling you it's too much, adjust. Bring in more props, change the positioning so you can hold for a couple of minutes with sensation that's very sustainable. And that will feel good later today and tomorrow. Nice. Stay with it. And then with the eyes, let's make some circle rolls. So bringing the eyes up to 12 o'clock. And then circling over to the right to 3 o'clock, down to 6, left, back up. Do that again, going clockwise, making rolls with the eyes. And then we balance going the other direction, taking it left, down, Notice if the left or right leg is pulling up or tensing. Just see if you can cue the knees to relax down towards the floor. Continue rolling those eyes. Come back and release it. Last inhale here. Bring it into the lower centers. Exhale. First, wiggle off your hands, release them. Shake the fingers, should feel nice. A little blood rush through the fingers, so nice. Good, and unwind with the legs. Let's bring them wide now. Coming into a straddle. And using the blocks for our head. Noticing if there's any tension, well, there's going to be some tension in the back of the legs, but if it's a lot, if there's a lot of pull back here, you can slide a blanket under each knee. So if anyone needs a blanket or soft prop under the knee, just let me know and I can get that for you. That sometimes feels nice to have a little bit of support under there. And then we again find this edge with the legs that's not extreme, right? Play with that first boundary. Like there I feel some tension, but it's not too much. And then we begin to dip the head down, only if it feels okay, in the hips and the back and the neck. And I'm bringing my blocks to high height to hold my head here. And you can perhaps flip the palms up on the mat, just a little reminder to the body to stay very soft. Usually those blocks feel really nice under the forehead, holding the weight of the head. So you can allow that spot in the forehead to really sink into the blocks if it's meeting for you. Terry, I'm gonna get you another block so you can really enjoy that forehead release. Play with that. Allow that third eye center to sink in here. Nice, very nice, everyone. Just stay with it. Breath is fluid and soft. This time of year in spring, we focused on the liver and gallbladder because these are the organs associated with this season in Chinese medicine. The liver and gallbladder are the wood element organs. And so the wood element, we think of spring and sort of the uprising of flowers and trees, bearing new leaves, and that's the energy of this time of year. It's sort of an uplifting of energy. The gallbladder is our yang organ, the liver is the yin organ, and when we can help focus on these organs with our fascia movements and our yin postures, right now we're moving into the liver meridian a little bit more in the inner legs. We encourage that movement of energy, the qi, through these centers of the body and to these organs that sort of need a little extra this time of year. Sort of calling to us to give them extra support. And if your head is on the block, you can sort of just take a little a little no, left and right with the head, massaging out the eyebrow line, massaging out the forehead. The eyebrows are surprisingly tender at times, right? Holding a lot of tension in the eyes and the forehead. So a little rocking side to side, massaging out those tissues. Hopefully that feels nice. The eyes are connected to the liver, our vision. And coming back through center, lifting the head slowly, flipping the palms back down to the floor, just walking the torso back slowly, bringing the legs in slightly, and noticing any little flushes, any sensations after that pose. Blinking eyes open, and we're coming on down to our backs. Hallelujah. Everyone likes to get back down onto the mat, right? So coming down to our backs, knees are bent. And roll on down. And once you arrive, crossing the right foot over the left knee, taking this like figure 4 shape. And then bringing the hands a little bit wider to your side for support. And then allowing that right foot to come down towards the left. If you want a block under the foot, you can reach for your block to catch your foot, or your foot can make its way to the floor, whatever is kind of working for you. And if you're using the block, it's nice to position it so that it actually takes the left knee as well. And so this is our figure 4 twist here. You can reposition the arms if you like. They can be out at a T at shoulder height or in a cactus arm shape. And then we allow the body to just kind of drop into this shape, bringing some twist into the torso and through the lower spine. Holding here, maybe bringing some awareness to the breath as it's moving in the right rib cage. And the liver and gallbladder sit just under that right rib cage. So you can even think of breathing in fresh oxygen, movement of blood and qi into the liver and the gallbladder. And the liver governs a lot of functions in our bodies. It's not just the detoxifier that we sort of imagine and think of. It regulates our blood flow. It stores blood. It manages movement of energy, qi through the body. And of course it does detoxify. And then the gallbladder aids in digestion, releasing bile, and it supports the liver. If we don't have a gallbladder, the liver sort of picks up the energy and functions of the gallbladder, picks up some of those responsibilities, but we still have the meridians. Staying with that easeful breath here. Last breath here. Inhale. Begin to wriggle that left foot back up to lift the right knee up. And then find your block. And bring it to the right side. Crossing now that right knee over the left. So taking sort of a cross-legged position. And then bringing that twisted configuration down to the right. And if that's a lot in your lower back, then just release the knee slightly, allowing the knee to open up away from the left leg, and just allowing the lower part of the calf to slide onto the outer edge of the left leg. So more of an open leg configuration. And if that still doesn't work for your low back, then, or your hips, then stack your knees instead. Always finding that respect of your own personal boundary in this pose. We're really opening up through the outer leg here with the foot crossed. You're feeling perhaps more tension, more pull on that outer left line of the leg. Really working into this very long chain of tissue where the gallbladder meridian runs up the side of the body and into the head. Arms in whatever configuration you like. Just another cycle of breath here. And now slide that right hand down underneath the right leg. Lift that right leg up with the hand, bringing everything back to center. Uncross the right foot. Right foot meets the mat. We pause here for a breath. And now crossing the left foot over the top of the right leg, just over the knee, and bringing that left foot down towards the floor or your block. I really like having the block there and having it catch the outside of the right knee and the left foot. Taking the first, few breaths to adjust. Maybe changing the arm positioning this time. You can even slide the arms overhead if that feels okay in the shoulders. Not overdoing it, keeping a soft bend in the elbows. Noticing the quality of the breath at this point in our practice. Noticing how it's probably softened, maybe deepened, become more fluid, expansive. When the mind's going off, come back to these qualities of the breath that you're noticing. Notice where the breath is moving in the rib cage here. Noticing that very subtle lift in the back left ribs. And just check in if the eyes are clenching or the jaw. And a little internal reminder to soften in those places. Breath. And as you exhale, begin to resituate that right foot, to roll back up onto the right foot, pause at center, and then slide the left leg down into that little cross-legged, like you're sitting for T position, and then bringing the knees down to the left, and of course adjusting with blocks, maybe bringing that block to a higher height, maybe sliding that left foot further off the right leg, just kind of playing with your personal edge here, what's working in your body, not pushing into the joints. I'm bringing a second block to this side. It's also very nice on this side to support that bottom knee as well, to have them both kind of tucked onto the blocks or block. And just sinking on back down into your body, allowing gravity to do the rest. Maybe noticing those little flickers of color and shapes behind your eyelids. last couple of breaths here. And now we inhale. Exhale, slide that left hand down to help support that left leg now. It's a lot to bring that back up. And wriggle that right foot back, uncross the left. Give the pelvis a moment to adjust here. So just pause at this neutral position. And let's just walk our feet a little wider and take a brief windshield wash. Just dipping the knees left and right. Allowing energy to move through the hips here. Encouraging that flow. Good. Coming back to neutral. And then extending left leg long, right leg long. Setting up for Savasana, maybe covering up with a blanket. I'm going to start music for Savasana. Everyone just get in position here. Turning down the legs. Allow the legs to take up lots of space and the arms. And then softening wherever you can. So maybe the fingertips curl in. Noticing all those areas where the back body's meeting the mat, from the heels, the calves, the back of the legs, the hips, back of the arms, shoulder blades, back of the skull. Allow that back of the skull to feel very heavy, really supported. And finally, soften one more time around the eyes, and maybe parting the teeth so the jaw can drop. And enjoy your Savasana. any shifts in the lower body. In the torso, the arms, the head. Kind of taking a moment to appreciate how you're feeling at this point in the practice. And then making some small movements as you take in some deeper inhales, maybe turning head left and right. Maybe rolling around the hands, the feet. Deeper breaths. And then on your next inhale, rolling over to your side in fetal position. A breath here. And then pushing up to a comfortable seat as we just close out our class together. Bringing your hands in front of your heart space. In prayer, just tucking the thumbs against the sternum, feeling your heart beating beneath your fingers. Just a moment of gratitude for each other coming together in community. A moment of gratitude for ourselves for making this practice a priority. And I thank you all for allowing me to guide you today. Blessings and namaste.